All right, got the Turbo Duo out. We're going to open it up, take a look inside. We know the capacitors in here need to be replaced. That's a given. This thing has issues, and these things are known for having bad capacitors. From what I've heard, there's also a lot of capacitors in here. So, an obscene amount of surface mount capacitors, which isn't going to make it easy to repair. But we're going to open it up. We're going to take a look. See how the capacitors look. Hopefully there's not, electrolyte just leaked all over the circuit board. Because what can happen with leaky capacitors, the electrolyte becomes corrosive. And so that shit leaks all over the circuit board, starts eating copper traces, can make a mess of a circuit board. It can also get on the chips, and the chip's legs will soak it up, and it'll get inside the chip. It can actually damage some ICs. So it's not good to have that corrosive, electrolyte just sitting on the board, especially over years. I mean, who knows if these capacitors are leaking? When did they start leaking? Could have been 10 years ago. Could have been 15 years ago. And again, that stuff sitting on the board for 10 years or more. Not good. Not good. So I think we got all the screws out there. I'm assuming the top's just going to pop off. It looks like the whole top's just going to be one piece. And, we got no games in there. Before you start trying to pull the top off, you don't want to make sure you don't have a game in the cart slot, right? So here goes nothing. Oh, literally. Literally here goes nothing. That does not come apart. Oh, okay, here it comes. Now it's got some ports on this side, so I might have to clear. Oh, that was okay. No, the headphone jack and the volume knob stay there, but that cleared pretty easily. So yeah, the top is just one piece, comes straight off, so that's nice. All right, so how's it looking inside? Yeah, I think I see something going on here. There's sort of some yellowing. We'll take a look at that. Now, the sound section is one of the most notorious for having issues first, and this one definitely had some issues with the audio. It looks good over here, to be honest. It looks fairly clean over here. These are all surface mount, but we do have a couple of through hole. And, same with over here, actually, to be honest. There's a lot more through hole than I thought. And honestly, they look good, right? Even over here, the board looks clean. But again, over here, not so much. It looks like there's something going on here, and this would be the audio section, so, that would make sense. But, yeah, all right. Well, there's a metal plate here for shielding. And, it looks like it's soldered on to the, is that the controller port? Yeah, that's the controller port. It looks like the shielding is soldered on to the controller port. So that's interesting. We'll get these screws out and we'll see if this metal plate will come off. Now that screw is copper or brass. Came out of the front. There's one on the left side here that's black. So I'm keeping track of that. Yeah, the black one looks like it's a hair longer, but not by much. Pretty close in size. So yeah. You got like a wire running right through this metal plate, which is weird. Oh no, it's soldered onto the metal plate. They got a couple wires soldered onto this metal plate, which is weird. And okay, I see these like tabs are folded over. And again, the metal plate is soldered. The metal plate is soldered onto the controller port. And that's the cartridge slot there. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to get my soldering gun or my soldering iron out, and we'll get this metal plate off here. Now, I don't have, I have very basic soldering skills and very basic soldering tools. I only have a basic soldering iron. I don't have like a heat, what do they call it? Not a heat gun. A hot air station. I don't have, the tweezers. You can get basically like hot tweezers where both sides of the tweezers are hot, and you can melt both sides of the solder on like a surface mount capacitor and pull it off the board. I don't have any equipment like that. I think if the board looks okay and it doesn't look like there's any damage, I'm gonna bring this to a professional place. I'm gonna bring this to like an electronic repair shop. Bring it to someone that's used to working on surface mount, computer boards, and they should have the kind of equipment like hot air guns to hot air stations to easily replace surface mount capacitors, and they'll have the capacitors there. Will I replace all of them? Probably should replace all of these surface mount ones at least, right? The through hole ones look fine, but maybe we'll take a better look at that. Again, we'll get this metal plate off and take a closer look at this board. All right, let's see how this goes. It's gonna be pretty hard to melt that solder on metal. It's metal on metal. Kind of gonna act as a heat sink, isn't it? Do I need to add more solder to it? Will that help? I don't know. Can I get that melting? Get that old solder melting. Ooh, yeah, the whole plate's definitely getting hot. But I do not want to come off there. Yeah, solder's definitely all melting, but oh, there we go. Woo-hoo. And it pops right back on. Come on now. There we go. Kind of flatten that out a little bit. All right. You just got it soldered on right here. There we go. This extra grounding, I guess. There we go. So they're grounding like the CD-ROM part to this, which is grounded to the main board, and then also the little power jack with the oh, this is literally just the power jack. I thought the AV cable. Oh, the AV cable's on the side. Yeah, this little board's literally just for the power jack, but they've also got it grounded to the plate. So basically, the two little separate boards are grounded to the plate, which is grounded to the main board. So they kind of grounded everything together. And he's hot. Again, they got these little metal tabs that are just bent to hold this plate on at the back. There we go. Now we can see the whole board. And yeah, like I said, there are a lot of surface mount capacitors in this thing, just in general. We've got, oh gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Yeah, roughly that I can see. 41 surface mount capacitors, not counting these through hole style. Now again, they look fine. The only obvious bad spot that I see right away is here, where you can see something, some kind of brown corrosion, kind of around the volume knob here. Assuming these are just voltage regulators. I'm not sure if it's for two separate power rails or if one's for audio. I don't know. Big diode there, which is sticking way up off the board. And a fuse. Yeah. The CD-ROM drive itself, I thought would be on its own circuit board, but it looks like all the CD drive control parts are actually on the main board. This is really just like the dummy mechanical parts of the drive, the motors and obviously the laser, but all the control parts of it must be on the main board itself. So there shouldn't be any capacitors on the CD-ROM drive, is I guess my point. I think it's really just everything that we see. But again, these are notorious for capacitors being bad, these surface mount capacitors specifically. Yeah. And like again, around all these through-hole electrolytics, I don't see any corrosion on the board. It just seems to be kind of here. So I'm going to clean that up. Just with some 99.9% IPA. Let's take this little harness off here and get it out of the way. And we'll use like a liberal amount of this, just kind of douse this on here. All over. Again, spilt it, but that's fine. It really can't hurt anything. And you can see that definitely not clean. That's all that brown electrolyte. It's basically, it turns into an acid. And again, it can eat through copper traces. if it's left on a board long enough, under the right conditions, I suppose. This looks fine, to be honest. Doesn't look like it was corroding the board, which is good. Could even be slightly conductive, couldn't it, I suppose? So again, if it starts getting around the legs of chips, could start causing shorts. Yeah, it looks fine around here. It's just right around here, right around that volume knob. And of course, we did have some issues with the audio on this, cutting in and out. And it might have just been, again, that could have just been that electrolyte sitting on the board there causing shorts. It might be fine now, but of course, these capacitors have leaked. They do need to be changed. Again, I'm probably not going to do it. I'm probably going to bring this to, so my friend owns an electronic repair shop. And so I'll probably just bring it to him and see how much, what the cost would be to just replace all of the surface mount capacitors on this thing. And yeah. Again, that looked like the only leakage, which is good. So for whatever reason, the audio section, is it because it's close to the voltage regulators and heat? But then you would think these ones would be affected. Is it just something to do with the fact it is the audio section? I don't know. Yeah, this looks pretty good otherwise. And I don't think that we have any corrosion on the board. So that's good. That is good. Yeah. But yeah, I might plug this in and try it again and see if the audio's better. Yes, those capacitors need to be changed. They've leaked. And again, they might all need to be changed. We had some other weird issues with this too, where games were crashing, and so that's not going to be the audio output section. That could be something over here, you know, more closely related to the processor. I don't know which one of these is the CPU. Let's have a look at this. I've never really, I'm not that familiar with the PC Engine, to be honest, hardware-wise. I think it's like a 6502 derivative for the CPU. Obviously, the GPU is totally custom. I think there's two custom graphics processors inside these. But and again, we're going to have quite a bit of this, would be the CD-ROM. Really portion of it, right? Because normally this was a separate PC Engine and a separate CD-ROM system, and it's been combined into one. So yeah, so we got like a Sony, is that a video encoder? You would think the video encoder would be closer to the video out section. Something like that Sanyo chip, for example, might be a video encoder. I'm just totally guessing here. That might be the CD-ROM control chip, Sony. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. I got a NEC branded chip there. We've got another Sony branded chip here. We've got another Sanyo branded chip here that actually looks very similar to that one. Not quite the same, I don't think. And another NEC branded chip there. That looks like the most sophisticated chip right in the middle there. So I'm assuming that's going to be one of the main graphics processors. It's possible one of these Sanyo chips. It's possible, I would assume maybe this Sanyo chip is the CPU. Again, it's, I believe, like a 6502 derivative. So it's a common 8-bit processor. The Commodore 64, the NES, those are both based off the 6502. And then, like, Nintendo slightly modified it for their purpose. I think they got Sharp. Was it Sharp or Sanyo that made it for the NES? I think it was Sharp. Made the CPU, but again, it's based off of 6502. So that might be what that is, but I'm totally just guessing. I would assume the CPU and the graphics chips would be close together. I would assume that's going to be the CD-ROM control chip. And, yeah. What's this one back here? OKI. Okay. Not sure how that's pronounced. I believe that's Japanese brained as well. That could be the video encoder chip. Not too sure. I mean, realistically, if you follow the traces coming from the AV port, some of them are going to go to the sound section and some of them are going to go to the video encoder. But, yeah, well, we got that corrosion off there, so that's good. The board looks good. So, again, not something I'm going to be tackling. The chances of me successfully changing this many surface mount capacitors without the proper equipment and not damaging the board are pretty high, to be honest. It's a lot of work, and I don't really feel like I'm up to it. But, again, I've got a friend that owns an electronic repair shop, so why wouldn't I just bring it there? And again, his employees have lots of experience with this kind of thing and the proper tools to handle the job. So probably not going to be a cheap job. That many capacitors, I mean, good Lord. Even if, I don't know. You could be spending $30 in capacitors and, a couple hours in labor. So, it's not going to be cheap. You could probably pick one of these up for the price it's going to cost to repair, but most of these need the repair, and if they've been repaired, they're going to mention that in the ad, right? If someone bought $30 worth of capacitors and took several hours worth of skilled labor to, completely refurbish one of these, they're going to sell it as refurbished. They're going to say completely refurbished. All the capacitors have been changed. If they aren't mentioning that, then you can bet that it hasn't been refurbished and it's all the original capacitors, and that you can bet it's going to need them to be changed. Again, these are notorious for having bad capacitors, especially the surface mount capacitors on here. And so you can buy these all day long. And I mean, I don't know what these go for now. A fully refurbished one in good condition is probably worth $250. I'm guessing. Maybe more. $300 maybe nowadays. So, even if you picked one up for $150 and it needed $150 worth of work on it, you're still at the same point, right? In other words, these are worth putting the money into, I think. I got this for free. So if I have to put $150, I'm just guessing. I have no idea what the labor's going to cost. Again, all the capacitors and a couple hours worth of skilled labor is not going to be cheap. Assuming even if I get some sort of a deal, being that, maybe get my friend to do it, it's still going to say I would think at least $150, right? I would guess. But again, it's worth it, right? If these are worth $250 or more, and I got this one for free, it's worth putting the $150 into and not just letting it go to waste. These things are getting scarce, and to have one that's fully refurbished and going to last decades more is a good thing. If you don't address the issue, and again, you've got leaking capacitors where the electrolyte has leaked all over the circuit board, and that just sits in a closet, again, it eventually could start eating away at traces on the circuit board, killing ICs, and eventually it could go to waste. You know, it would just be junk at that point. So yeah, if you've got one of these sitting in a closet, open it up, look for any corrosion, and maybe give it a clean while you can. Even if you're not going to replace the capacitors in the near future, but maybe you think long term, maybe eventually one day you'll get around to it, you still might want to clean that corrosion off in the meantime, so that it doesn't cause any long-term damage to the circuit board, right? So anyways, that's it. I don't know when I'm gonna get this thing fixed. It's time and it's money, you know. I'd have to drive there and bring it there. And you know, if I'm getting a bit of a deal because he's my friend, I'm not gonna make him rush it, right? They're a busy repair shop. They're gonna have, you know, lots of repair jobs in queue that need to get done. So I'm not gonna rush this. There's no reason for this to get rushed. This would have just sat unused, potentially getting damaged, and now it's not. And so again, no rush. I can bring it to him and just say no rush. Do it when you got time. Yeah, again, I think it's worth putting the money into. And if you have one of these and it's never been refurbished, you need to open this thing up and take a good look at that circuit board. All right, so that is it. See you guys later. All right, so I got the Turbo Duo hooked up here. After cleaning off the corrosion, seems to be working better. We've got audio, although I'll be honest, when I first turned it on, we didn't have audio. It was silent. And then about a minute into playing, there was a popping sound, and then the audio kicked in. So, whatever that means. Possible the voltage going to the audio chip, the audio amp chip, is too low, with these capacitors being obviously bad. So it's not perfect, obviously. We know that it needs the capacitors changed, but it's working, I think, better than it was just by cleaning all that corrosion off the board. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's it, I guess. It's definitely working a little bit better. Obviously, it needs the capacitors changed, but getting that corrosion off really helped. And again, it's going to help prevent any damage to this in the future. So honestly, looking pretty good here.